Yes, yes, good evening or good afternoon, good afternoon. This is another Sunday afternoon with Sunday Scoops. I tell you, the important people always keep getting phone.
Yeah, done.
So, today we have a wonderful lineup for you today. Um, it's going to be lick over songs, and basically we're covering songs that we thought, or when we grew up, we thought they were the original songs. We thought that these were songs that were composed by Jamaican musicians and sung by Jamaican artists. And let me tell you, when you get a little bit older and you start getting into the history of the music and you start going to different park places like a East Road, like what Richie used to do on a Sunday, or you go Raytown and you hear certain songs and you're like, what, wait, hold on. Really? Wow. So, that was a rude awakening. And of course, a lot of Jamaican DJs have covered these songs and they've done the same thing that we're doing today. We even did it in, 2022, Richie? Yeah, we did it about 2 years ago. And we're doing it again by popular demand. But the difference this Sunday is that we have a couple of editions and we also are only going to play the songs that were popular that we thought. And even if 3 or 4 Jamaican artists did the song, we're not going to play the most popular version. We're not going to play 3 or 4 Jamaican versions of the same song because that is overkill. However, the first song we're going to do is a song called My Boy Lollipop. This song was originally sung by Barbie Gay, was written in the mid-1950s by a doo-wop group, the Cadillacs. And then this gangster brother heard the song, loved it, and he was a lover of Barbie Gay, and he wrote the song. He went and just got the song for this girl. She did the original song was My Girl Lollipop.
My Girl Lollipop, right.
Yes. And then he got it, then it became My Boy Lollipop. Her name was Barbara Gaffney.
Yeah, you couldn't put that on the record. Irish, if you had put that on the record, Irish she wouldn't sell 2 copies.
Yes.
So they changed it, shortened her name to Barbie Gay. But more importantly, of course, Chris Blackwell on discovery of Millie Small in the early 1960s, after doing some run with her, they basically reconstructed the song. And Millie Small
rearranged by the one Ernie Ranglin.
Right. Millie Small redid the song and it became a monster hit. But let's give a listen. Barbie Gay.
The original Barbie Gay released in 1956. Big hit for her, and later. Let me tell you, kudos to Ernie Ranglin for a fantastic arrangement on that song. Let me tell you, one of the things I've found is, I guess it's a subconscious bias, Richie. When you hear the Jamaican interpretation and the original, it's just more melodic to me and just have more rhythm and innovative.
Well, in fairness, again, remember the purpose of the program is that we recognize the Millie Small version. Most Jamaicans who are just listeners to the consumers of the music from a listening perspective had no idea who Barbie Gay was until
or even cared.
Right. And so and we grew up hearing Millie Small's version. And again, as you said, I and by the way, East Road was largely on a Friday night. But when you are tuning into those guys who are collectors of the music and you start hear these
R&B
obscure, because for me, when I remember the first interaction I had, it just sounded so obscure, and then the guy saying, "This is the original song," and that kind of drove my desire to collect those music.
And it also goes to show you what was being listened to at the time and how eclectic the taste of the Jamaican listener is.
That too, but it also spoke to, and I wish somebody like a Mikey Bennett who is always listening in would tune in here. In the period where this music is being created, there were no copyright, um, what we call handcuffs, if you will, in terms of the industry. And that, the absence of the copyright put Jamaicans in a position where they were able to explore. And out of that exploration came, as you say, the Millie Small tune and multiple others which we're going to touch on today. But it helped to develop our industry. The other thing too that is significant and why this particular program is so important is that there is this misnomer out there that Jamaicans, we created Jamaican music. Jamaican music is largely a confluence of the influences from all over the place. We were listening to music from all about, and people who had a desire to get behind a microphone or to go one up another and record a song. They were to a large extent imitating
It's not being on the
artist.
international level.
Absolutely. In fact, our music was birthed from the concert, what we call the contest, the singing contest
Right.
era of the 1950s, where you go to Ambassador Theatre, you go to Majestic, you go to Ward or Palace. The big ones usually Palace and Ward Theatre is a big competition venue where Veer Johns and there were other people other than Veer Johns who were
But I was
doing
on the
this thing.
big stage though, Richard. We'd also have to look at the fact that there was a lot of penny concerts happening within the schools and churches
Absolutely.
across the island. So
And-
those are all drivers that allowed us to create that Jamaican sound.
And more importantly, there were artists. In fact, somebody like a Charlie Organ here will tell you, there were singers who sounded like Jackie Wilson.
Yes.
When you go to a concert at Ward or Carib Theatre on a particular Christmas morning, you have Jamaican singers who they are basically the Jamaican Jackie Wilson.
Or the Jamaican Curtis Mayfield.
Absolutely. Or the Jamaican Fats Domino. Because everything you can't, if you don't know Fats Domino and you go on one of them
It's
concerts,
like, what's her name? Girl Satchmo.
there you go.
Deirdre, I forgot her last name. When not Fats Domino, Satchmo, when the real Satchmo heard her sing, he said, "That girl sound like me more than me."
There you go. So
And you know, last week Sunday we did the Beverleys with Leslie Kong, and we played a song that Bob Marley did, one of his first recordings with Beverly's studio, and that song was One Cup of Coffee, and one of our listeners, Mehdi, pointed out that this was actually a
country tune.
it was a country song,
Right.
and I had to go and listen to it.
Well,
And this song, because I listen to a lot of Bob Marley, and I know this song. I wouldn't say I know it verbatim, but when I listen to the style of the writing, then I realized that this don't sound like something that Bob would write. But then again, I'm thinking, this is a Bob single, this is back in the day. I'm not even paying attention until Mehdi pointed that out. So we went and I found the song. Bob's song is One Cup of Coffee. The original song was done by a country singer called Claude Gray in 1960. And the name of his song is I'll Have Another Cup of Coffee, and then in brackets, Then I'll Go. So I'm going to play the I'll Have Another Cup of Coffee, and then I'm going to play the Bob Marley's version. I played a couple of songs before we commented. I didn't want to be monotonous, play a song, then come back and then come back. So we played Breakfast in Bed by Dusty Springfield, 1969, wherever it is possible, I'll give the year. And then Lorna Bennett did her cover version in 1972. Then I played Perfidia with Julie London, and then covered by Phyllis Dillon. And before that, of course, I played the Claude Gray with the I'll Have Another Cup of Coffee and Bob Marley's version, One Cup of Coffee, 1962, thereabouts.
You made the observation as to how they truncated the songs, particularly Marley, one cup of coffee. But Marley and that's Mikey Bennett, who is in the chat, made the point that most Jamaicans, although we speak English, we live our lives in patois. So writing songs in English was kind of a stretch for most young artists. So in other words,
At that time.
they're writing the songs, but it's a factor that continues. People write in the voice that they are comfortable with, and so keep in mind that when Marley did this song, Marley wouldn't have been more than about 17 or so years old, and there's no indication that he got any extensive help in recasting the lyrics of the song. And again, we're talking about a 16-year-old Marley. This is just touching into the early 1960s.
When he said heartaches, he didn't say heartaches, he said heartaches.
And more importantly, too, a lot of our artists coming out of that late 1950s, 1960s period were hardly the beneficiary of any substantial academic preparation. We had an issue with the absence of, primary schools across the island, and this is the Jamaica that was producing a lot of these artists. In fact, according to Dog newspaper, people like Delroy Wilson could have barely read and write, but look at the catalog of work that he put out. He understood how to put a song together, and the structure clearly was getting help from somebody within the studio. I know people like Jackie Mitu helped a lot with him and putting a lot of his work together. So, we just want to keep that in place. I see we're ready to also ask a question now, but to Lana Bennett. Lana Bennett, she was in the business for a little bit, and then went on to become an attorney.
She Dancing to My Own Heartbeat. That was a big song.
She became an attorney at law and is the mother of what name?
Protege.
So she clearly still involved in the business. I'm pretty sure somebody like a Mikey Bennett can give us some additional.
The other song I was mentioning Richie was Dancing to My Own Heartbeat, which was written by Pluto Shervington.
There you go.
Next song up, we're going to do two songs back to back by June Carroll Lodge. First one is Baby I'm Yours, written by and sung by Barbara Lewis in 1965. And then Someone Loves You Honey by Charlie Pride. So let's do the Barbara Lewis first, and then we'll play the June Lodge, and then right after that I'm going to play Someone Loves You Honey, Charlie Pride, again covered by June Carroll Lodge. Alright, that was Dreamland by the Wailers, and before that I played the Van Dyks, El Tempos, My Dream Island song came out in 1964. To note, Dreamland was covered by Bunny Wailer again, because this was the Wailers, original Bunny Wailer in 1976. Marcia Griffiths did a nice version in 1978. And Third World, massive hit in 1977.
Massive.
And their 96 Degrees in the Shade album.
No, they again got, and I say Mikey made a comment in the chat on the side, where he said Coxon knew this. Basically, what we are talking about is he was looking to the products coming out of North America, and Coxon basically gathered, because he also gave to the Wailers, or the group of youngsters that call themselves the Wailers, a whole heap of Curtis Mayfield songs.
Bob Marley's One Love is based on People Get Ready.
Right, and the people.
The original ska version.
What as Mikey said, Coxon knew that this was the direction to go, and so he brought these tunes in, distributed them among select artists, and of course the musicians at Studio One, as Mikey said, added the pepper sauce,
The
if you
jerk
will,
sauce.
the jerk sauce,
Jerk
right?
sauce.
And gave the thing. Now,
We
you
did
played,
two versions, Baby I'm Yours, Barbara Lewis,
right?
and then we played Someone Loves You Honey, which was a way bigger hit. I shouldn't even have played the Baby I'm Yours, but you know, but the Someone Loves You Honey,
No, so, that was a song.
Charlie Pride, and then J.C. Lodge through Joe Gibbs did that cover version.
Now, Joe Gibbs wrote in the notes for the song that the song was basically his.
And then probably would have get away with it in a Richie.
Yeah,
But-
Charlie Pride handlers approached him to say, "Hey, correct yourself,"
But
right?
when the song became an international hit, like in Australia and New Zealand and all over these places, the holders for the label, I think it was RCA,
Right.
requested the master so they could distribute it internationally through Joe Gibbs.
Right.
And instead of listening to Charlie Pride's handlers to say, credit us with the song, him send the master to
Yeah, taking full credit for the song itself, and of course, Charlie Pride's people decided that I saw this
We're
thing,
going to make an example out of it.
and they made an example. They made out of him indeed. I think that in the course of a lawsuit that he couldn't deal with, and we're talking about what 1970s, 1970s, 80s.
Yeah.
It ultimately resulted in the people them come with a big old 20-pound chain and chain up the
All
studio
of the
gate.
Joe Gibbs
And
studios
everything.
and properties that he had across the United States.
And they took away his entire catalog of work.
Yeah, he died a pauper.
Because of stupidity. But again, this was also, karma is a hell of a thing, because Gibbs had a reputation of this dupe byplay between himself and the artist, where he would give them local claim for the songs here, but overseas, when maximizing the distribution, he's giving himself credit as the owner
and the writer,
writer, everything, and take away the thing. So ultimately, that came after him. Now,
this song that I'm going to play next
hold on, you played a song to "Someone Loves You, Honey." You had,
yeah, that's the same song we talked about.
Yeah,
they just talk about.
But
it was
originally. Hold on, it was originally. It wasn't just Charlie Pride alone. The original song was done by a Johnny Rodriguez. I'm being advised, and then Charlie Pride took it.
Okay.
So
well, you live and you learn.
And
also played that Patty Drew, "The Love That a Woman Should Give to a Man," 1969. And then we have Phyllis Dillon's version, "Love a Woman Should Give." So sometimes they change the names a little bit, and everything can work on the record in a two-line. But this song, and then of course we play that "Dream Island" with the El Tempos and "My Dreamland." Now this song licked me to six the first time I hear it, and for years, 1970, on this man's album. This was the title for the album, but this song. But I'm going to play the Van Dykes that did the original version.
Oh yeah. I can tell you. You know, say you could never
Couldn't resist that one. But before we get into that, let's go back to what was played. We played the Van Dykes, "No Man is an Island," Dennis Brown. Then I played the Sixto Rodriguez, which was also covered by Bredden. "Silver Words" came out in 1971, covered by Ken Booth. And then I played Tony Orlando, "Bless You," covered by Horace Andy on his album "Wicked Them a Burn." And then he revisited it in the 1980s, late 1980s, on a dancehall Far East rhythm.
Hello, me know you so well, We could have bet me house money that you would have to play the dancehall version of that Horace Andy. Mikey made a comment in the chat room when he talked about that you can't overstate the genius of our Jamaican artists in terms of their own reinterpretation of the songs, and then how they made part of that reinterpretation
Artists
is the
and
adjusted deliveries. So you're hearing the original song for those of us who are here for the first time, and you can't make the connection between what was the original song and what our guys have put out. I mean, go back to Ken Booth's the tune. I know the Sixto thing, but Sixto Rodriguez version, but the version I'm more familiar with is the Bread version. And in fact, when Ken Booth covered the Bread version, and he had gone to the United Kingdom.
You must remember, so there's another Bread version that he covered, you know.
Yeah.
You're thinking about another song, you know, Richie.
You know, you're right. Yes.
You're thinking about another song.
But it was the Bread version of this that he also covered because he spoke about it himself.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, since you went there, let me pull up that that song.
Yeah.
So the song that you're talking about was the 1972 version that Bread did, and then Ken Booth covered. And I can kick off the next segment of songs with that one. We're going to play the Bread version and then the Ken Booth cover. But this song, which was a massive hit for him across the international. 1972, I remember the song so well. I was 7 years old. Yes, Richie.
Yeah, you find the real truth. That's the real truth.
That's the song you were thinking of.
Even though,
the Silver Words was a big hit for him too, but more locally.
It was
in Jamaica than it was.
The Everything I Own went everywhere, and in fact he toured the UK, he toured Europe with that song. The song basically still a paying mortgage.
Again, recorded at Harry J's, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
And you know, again, we talk about the reinterpretation because listen to the instrumentation. You would never associate that with the original song, right? And certainly, you know, how he took the lyrics. My philosophy is if you're going to cover a man's song, especially people do a good song and put it over there, you need to cover that song in a way that shows ownership. And in the majority of the cases, just listening to these lick over songs, to use the term, a term made popular by the late Earl Daly or Senior Daly, lick over song. But you have to take ownership of the song, and certainly.
You know which song that people took ownership of, both musicians and artists alike, is a song that was done in 1967, originally by Johnny Taylor, later covered by Luther Ingram, but we copied the Johnny Taylor version 1967. Alton Ellis and the Fabulous Flames, a song called Ain't That Loving You. Dennis Brown had a nice hit of it, 1979.
I'm going to get a story there.
And then later on, Barry Salmon did a wicked hit off of it. But what does Gwen do?
Sean Paul did take a piece off of it too, right?
Ain't That Loving You? No, different song, Dr. Richie. Different song. That's a different song. But Ain't That Loving You? This song, Johnny Taylor, 1967, covered by Alton Ellis. And the reason why I pulled up this song was when I'm going to play the cover version that we did, and it's only because Mikey talked about following or the arrangement, and to show you how closely, just like with that Patty Drew song, with that Phyllis Dillon covered, if you listen to how closely we followed that song. So taking this one from the top, Ain't That Loving You with Johnny Taylor, I'm going to play the Alton Ellis and the Flames version. Yeah, those are two songs. Call on Me. This was also re-recorded by Delroy Wilson. Any Call on Me, the original jukebox version, 1975. It's only available on vinyl. You can't get a digital original copy. As a matter of fact, it seemed like the producers for Delroy Wilson at that time chose the worst vinyl to press on, because you can't find a clean copy of it. You can't find great re-recorded versions, but the original jukebox version, I used to punch in a Mass Papi jukebox for 5 cents for 2 tunes. Can't find it.
You know what was responsible for that too? Delroy Wilson himself had, his career started very, very early as a youngster with Coxsone. And he spent a lot of time with Coxsone and never made a dollar, right? And so, out of frustration, if you remember when he did the song, um, that PNP basically appropriated the song, Better Must Come.
Better Must Come.
He was basically, that song was really him saying um, he knew that his time is going to come. Granted, the PNP appropriated the song, and that also helped mash him up because people identify him
And took
now as a
alcohol for it.
socialist. Yes.
And then he died of cirrhosis of the liver.
Yeah, but he was basically moving from studio producer to producer with the hope that he could
Gonna get them
find
big
something
hits.
that would, get him an opening.
Yeah, the second song I played was Rain from the Skies.
Yeah.
Adam Wade, 1963. And of course, Delroy Wilson had a massive hit, Rain from the Skies. I had started playing They Calling Me Again by mistake because certain people are talking in my ears and distract me.
Your attention span and all
the,
that good.
on the
That's-
Rain from the Skies version, let's move on to better things. John Holt and Dennis Brown did a nice cover copies too.
Yeah, but the best version of that song
There
for
are
me
ways,
is
absolutely,
There Are Ways,
yeah, man.
without a doubt.
The next song I'm going to play is a song that was done by Brooke Benton, Because You Love. And John Holt did a version of it in 1970, but he called that one Do You Want Me? So, yeah, and then I'm going to play another John Holt. I'm going to play 4 John Holts. Let us follow up John Holt then. Songs that, again, the premise of this program is not to just do cover versions, because a lot of songs were covered by Ghosts and Sanchez and a whole lot of different artists. We're talking about songs that when you were growing up, we thought that these songs were written, composed, and arranged by Jamaican singers and musicians.
I think in
Until
fairness,
later on,
in
we
fairness,
learned
though,
better.
in fairness, though, God, I think this was how the rocksteady era evolved to a large extent. They granted the period was very, very short, but this is how these artists, as we discussed earlier, or we mentioned earlier, that people like Coxsone would provide the artist
Right.
with a vinyl and say, check out this, study that song, and make we see if we can do something.
Right. But what I'm saying, Richie, I'm not saying that the artists, the producers, and musicians set out to mislead us. That's not what I'm saying.
No,
I'm saying so which speaks to the mastery of how they interpreted and innovated these songs.
absolutely.
So because they did it so well, we, growing up, thought that these were original songs. Written, produced, arranged, and sung by Jamaican
As a man who was collecting the music, it's when I really settled into becoming a collector that I had this appreciation for that a lot of these songs that we took for granted were never original songs, and so a little bit of education here, and we're sharing it with the listeners out there as well.
Yeah. Next up is that Brooke Benton called Because You Love, and I'm going to play a bunch of cover versions, bunch of songs, the originals and those that were covered by John Holt in his mastery stage. Well, they never did leave us still, but trust me, wicked.
See my love true loneliness, see my love true sorrow. I'm giving you my loneliness, come give me your tomorrow. If I work my
All right, so we just covered a slew of John Holt covers. We started off with Brooke Benton, Because You Love, John Holt's version, Do You Want Me, 1970. Also played by Shep and the Limelights, Stick By Me and I'll Stick By You, 1963. John Holt did a version, Stick By Me, 1974. Temptations did, in 1964, I Want a Love I Can See, and John Holt did I Want a Love I Can Feel. He did a version that was in 1970. Then Percy Sledge, Thief in the Night, and that was 1966. John Holt did his rocksteady version on the same era, Stealing. Tim Harden did If I Were a Carpenter in 1967. The Four Tops covered it, which is a more popular Motown version that we know. And then, of course, John Holt, If I Were a Carpenter. The only problem I have with John Holt's version, though, is in the original, the line of the song says, if I were a miller at the mill wheel grinding, John Holt says, if I was a miller and the mill should grind me. After the mill grinding, Mr. Holt, nothing left for you if anybody
Man
love.
dead and God, man. This one I use, man. But to the same John Holt thing, I think people need to be aware. John Holt made, first of all, John Holt made his name in the music on the same concert series, the what we call singing competition, and was drafted into the Paragons, where Bob Andy he effectively replaced Bob Andy as a member of the Paragons. But within a couple of years, the Paragons dissipated as a group because the other two members went to the States, one on a scholarship, the other one just fully migrated. And so John Holt needed to find something that would anchor him to the listenership, because he had built with the Paragons a solid listenership. It was the rock steady period was still in its heyday and we're trending into reggae. And so John Holt did, he basically followed the directives from the studios and he went covers, which explains why he had so much cover tune.
And he did it pretty well. As a matter of fact, he did a bunch.
He did.
And the 1000 Volta Holtz, he did a bunch of Burt Bacharach covers too. Which
until he learned how to write some songs for himself, or to elicit the effort of others to write songs for him. But yeah, give him due.
There's a song, Richie,
Yeah.
that was done by Freddie Fender, and Dennis Brown did a massive hit with this song. A song called Wichita Lineman. And this is a Freddie Fender version, after which I'm going to play the Dennis Brown. And then I'm going to play a couple of other songs too that Dennis Brown did cover versions of. But let's kick off with this Wichita Lineman.